Dead Art Studios paint and chat. So we're back. I've had a little break. The kids have been off. It's half term, so my daughter's been at home. It hasn't been conducive to painting. If you know, you know. Anyway, we're back, and I've got this 30 by 40 centimetre glossy acrylic painting that I've been working on. It's an abstract, and it started off with some finger painting, dragging my fingers through, and I've done some more work on it since and put some blue glazes on it, quite glossy ones. And then I sort of had a bit of trouble with it really, and ended up putting these sort of magenta streaks down it, these 4 streaks. So we're going to roll with those and then see what we can add to those today and see if we can bring something out into it. Something to make it mean a bit more. It's not looking very meaningful at the moment. And although I did like the finger marks that I did and the sort of crowd vibe it had, when I worked on it more, it just kind of lost it, and it still needed more, but it didn't really improve it. So in a way, that painting was kind of just lost and drifted off, and we've got to find something else out of this. So I'm just going to start with some white paint. This is what we're using. We've just got some Liquitex Basics white acrylic for this. And I'm not putting any gloss medium in today. I've been doing up until now, but in some ways it's a bit too glossy. When the light catches it, it's like you can't really even see the painting. So now I do like the gloss elements, and in the right place on a wall it'll be fine. But I think I also want to bring a bit less gloss in now. So that's what we're going to do with these white bits. So I've got my white paint. I've just got this big round brush here. And I'm just going to put it up, somewhere up at the top here. And just make some strokes, see what happens really. That's what all this painting's been about so far. And in some ways that's what all painting is about, isn't it? It can be far more rehearsed than how I do it. And maybe one day I will try it that way as well. But you know, I'm just being me and doing what I do. It drives me crazy sometimes. But what else can you do really? So painting chats, 30-ish minutes, unrehearsed, unscripted painting and chat. Just whatever comes to mind, both on the canvas or in this case plywood, and to my mind as well. So yeah, this is plywood, 30 by 40 centimetres, and we're using a mixture of gold and brand paints and Liquitex and some gloss medium to get that shining effect that you can see in the blue of the background. So already I feel like when I looked at this earlier, I say unrehearsed, I looked at the painting before my dinner. I thought, what next? I thought, well, if we have some white elements up here, that might look quite interesting. Already looks different to how I thought it would. You've kind of just got to put things down. I think even if you're doing like a landscape and you've drawn it out and everything, unless you've done it 1,000 times, you're not going to know 100% how it looks. And I imagine even then, even after 1,000 times, you're still not really 100% sure what's going to happen every time you do a painting. And maybe if you get to the point where you do, maybe then the magic of painting, maybe then it's lost. Maybe not. Let me know. Do you just think, I want to paint this, and then you paint it, and then it looks like it, and then you're happy? If that's you, then awesome. That bit looked like it needed some white as well. Right. What else might need some white? Just here. Maybe here. maybe there. Okay, I'm just going to put the brush to one side, and the bit at the top here, it's a bit splodgy and thick. I think I am going to run my finger through, true to the form of what we've been doing previously, and see what that does. It's bringing out a little bit of the painting below, but maybe it'll bring a bit more form as well. I mean, we can always go back over, can't we? Once we've got these sort of finger strokes in. Okay, let's do this one over here. That one there. So yes, as I mentioned, it's been school holidays, much deserved for the children who have to work very hard at school, like crazy hours for the age. My daughter's 5, and they're hard at it, learning to read and write, as well as some playtime, but they do need the rest. But it's pretty intense, you know. You do have to do a lot to keep them entertained, and it's been good fun. We've done loads of cool things. And then it's back to learning for those guys tomorrow. Or maybe, you know, in the UK, maybe you're starting this week as well. I know some people are. Okay. So what does that tell me about this painting? I do not know. Not a lot. What if I smear it a bit? Don't know. Maybe down here a bit. Sort of drag it through and almost blend it out a bit. Well, that kind of looks a bit more reasonable. If anything, there's too much paint on there. So it's slow progress on the YouTube channel, but that's okay. That's just how we're going to go with it. That's the only way you can go with it, isn't it? I mean, I can't control who's watching this. And I'm not going to start some of the stuff my daughter watches on YouTube. It's questionable in quality and motive. So you try to keep them away as much as you can, but once Pandora's box has been opened, it's very difficult to close it. And, you know, they're going to have to learn to deal with this stuff and more throughout their lives. I wonder if when books and the printing press was first invented, if people saying, oh no, too much reading, it's going to mess with your head. Maybe they did. I'm pretty sure they probably did, actually. You know, until then they would have relied on word and stories being passed down by mouth, wouldn't they? And maybe it has spoiled that. And of course, one of the first types of communication is, or would have been, I would have thought, painting or expression. Maybe, you know, those cave paintings, you see them with the ochre hands, that's why they can spattered on the hands, and then also drawn animals and things. Was there communication involved in that, or was it fun or record? I get a feeling that the hand thing was probably just a bit like, oh, this is cool. You know, when you're doing painting in or crafts like clay and stuff, that tactile side of it seems to be pretty important. And it really seems, I've found, especially from playing with my daughter with her kinetic sand and things like that, and Play-Doh, that tactile feedback that you get, it's Seems to be really important to soothing and calming me, at least, and keeping me centered. You know, if I could get a throwing wheel and a kiln somewhere, I think I'd have one, but it's just another thing that I'd love to try and I haven't got time for right now. There's plenty of people out there doing awesome ceramics, so I don't know, I feel like I'm starting a long way behind on that. I don't totally hate this. Okay. Just pulling it down and out. Yeah, being interested in everything is a curse in some ways. I was friends with an older gentleman who walks around where we live, and we both like nature and bird watching. And he was like asking me if I'd be interested in his old film camera lenses. Of course, what I love my photography. But I was like, I ain't got time to be developing film and stuff right now. And I says to him, I says that this is the problem. I'm interested in everything. Like, pretty much everything. I've got some kind of interest in. Maybe not the more mainstream things, football. Tried to be interested, not really, if I'm honest. Not really. I can sit down and watch a match and pretend that it's relevant to something, but not really for me. But you know, in terms of literature, music, art, those kind of things, it all interests me. Very much so. Let's find a cleanish finger and just get that bit of white off there if we can. Okay, and we're just going to pull down. So, don't know what it's saying yet, if anything. Gardening, there's another thing that I'm really interested in. And fitness. See, I'm not totally out of sports. Like, I fail dramatically at keeping fit in quite often, you know. Sometimes I'm fit and healthy and sometimes I'm not. And it's been like that for most of my life. But running and cycling and the outdoors, nature, walking, hiking, it's all greatly interesting to me. Right, that looks kind of cool, pulling that through there and straightening it out a bit. Let's do that. Down there as well, yeah. Just up there a bit, and you know, put a bit more of a smear, take that heavy paint down there with me. Okay. Let's put that there. I would wash my brushes, but I think I'll just get this video out and finished, and then I'll wash later. It'll save us all the faff, if you know the word faff. More colour. Red. Maybe just on the finger again, and maybe just where these lower white bits are. Just pull some red in, see what that does. Oh, I'm not convinced about that. Paint's trying to fall off. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to just paint normally. The reality of trying to paint and film it and put it on to make some kind of entertainment as well is that, you know, if you want to get up and wash brushes and stuff out, it's just more confusion on the editing side, more confusion, full stop, throughout the whole thing. So we shall just paint, clean up the mess later, which I don't like to do with my brushes, because if you can get them while they're wet, it's far easier to get a cleaner brush. Okay, the red's not terrible, and I think it's almost tempting me to bring some up here as well. Try not to get the white into the top. I got white on my finger, look. I don't want it in there. Not been having a lot of success with paintings recently. I seem to be able to do things good on paper and just get stuff out that I'm like and happy with, and I feel like I can try and sell. These bigger ones that I allow myself to have more conceptual thinking behind, other than it's an abstract landscape that looks kind of cool, where I'm trying to, you know, do art as art history would have you kind of think it. I've got the white paint in there, you know, the philosophical meaning of some kind behind it, whether it's in the terms of how you're using the techniques and putting them down and emoting through that, or whether it is a symbolism within the piece, or both, obviously. Yeah, I've been finding that difficult, and I don't know if it's because I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I don't, you know, you could paint a dragon or a lion or a unicorn or a person, sort of, you know, looking off thoughtfully into the distance, and I'm not going for that niche. I'm not trying to fill that. That's not what I'm here for with the paint. And some people would say, well, you shouldn't be bloody painting. They're probably not that wrong, but I'm here. I'm trying stuff. I'm trying, you know, so that, like Roscoe, you were a bit over the top with saying that he wanted people to look at his colour field paintings and just be that emotional about it that they just start crying right there. Has he been successful? I don't know. But I feel like that's one step too far, or a few steps too far. But the general sentiment, you know, of you're looking at something and just being struck by it, and it not necessarily having a form, but you've seen something that somebody's done and gone through a process, and then that tells the story somehow to you because of why they've put things there. And it's not like this is planned, but it's also not like unplanned. I'm purposefully trying to put things in place and construct something. I've got some hands of yellow. Now I've got these sort of yellowy green bits here, and I kind of like them. I'm just wondering whether to go over them or next to them. I think next to them might be better. Yeah, let's see. Let's just go next to them. Okay, and here. So I'm going to keep making paint and chat. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do it for a couple of years, I think, and before I review whether I'm wasting my life. So, you know, brace yourself, really. I'm here to stay. But, you know, if you are getting something out of it, then there you go. I am going to be here for a while doing this. I've been having lots of trouble. The world's a funny place now, and selling internationally and within Europe and things have become more complicated than it ever has been. And for where I am at the moment, maybe too complicated. So I'm going to re-evaluate how I'm going to sell. I'm going to try and stay UK only at the moment on the internet, which I don't really want to do, but I don't feel like I've got much choice right now. That could change in a few weeks. But I suppose the point of what I'm trying to get at is I do want to try and get out and sell in real life and put my art down on a table somewhere and up and around and have people look at it and see if they want to buy it. So that's on the list of things to do reasonably soon. And there's, relatively near to where I live, there's a pub. It's a bit out, and I'd be interested to see who's coming because it's out in the middle of nowhere, really. Well, not in the middle of nowhere, but it's not in the city centre. And yeah, you can sell there on a Saturday. They do an art sale, so maybe that's a good starting place. It's £20 for a table, so you know, not gonna totally bankrupt me, at least. So that's something I do want to try, and I maybe just want to get my art out there a bit more. I want to do the internet thing. I want to be here. And do you know what? It'd be my dream if I could just make YouTube videos and people saw my art and liked my art and then went to my website and bought my art. But so far, not happening. So, kind of have to maybe improve my art. I'm not ruling that out. And I'm going to keep going, and you'd hope that improvement or enlightenment of some kind would come with that. But I also think I need to get out there, because I think the thing about buying a painting is you see it in real life and you're like, whoa, or yeah, I want that, or you think, oh, that fits in somewhere. I think if you're just scrolling on a computer, you know, for a shop, you might find it through a Google search, might stumble. People have stumbled upon my artwork that way. I'm not sure it has the same impact. So, yeah. I think I've got to get out there and try and do some actual selling. I can have a proper market stall in the city centre. It seems like a big step, but that's only £50 for a day. So it's kind of worth the gamble in some ways. Right, where are we with this? Well, it looks colourful. There's no disputing that. I'm just going to pull this down here a bit. It looks colourful. I'm just going to plonk my finger in there a bit and pull that down. Do I like it more than when I started? Yes, I think. Do I want to add one more element before we say goodbye for the evening? Yes, I think. I think we'll do a bit of black. if I can find it in all these paints. You'd think I'd have a better setup, but plastic bags do lend themselves to just tidying things away really quickly, which is good for me. You know, if you just got to put everything back in a little thing on a shelf and if you ain't got a lot of time, you can spend more time doing that than actually doing your art. So throwing everything in a bag, it's a trade-off for how much time you waste looking for things versus how much time you'd spend tidying away things. I seem to have a mind that can work with the mess a bit more. I do still need some order. Quite liking the black here. Might just bring that down there as well. Double pull. Yeah. Might go a bit more down there. What if we put some black up at the top, like a finger splodge on each one, and then we'll say bye until maybe later in the week, depending on how much energy I've got, or maybe next week. I suppose what I need to do is get ahead on these videos so that when I do have a week off, I can just drop one. Oof, well that was odd, wasn't it? Let's just put a bit more on. Okay, bit mad. This is some expensive paint to be splodging on, on a piece of plywood randomly, but there you go. Life is short, eh? Let's go to this bit in the middle as well. Put the black in there as well. And let's take it over to these yellow bits as well. Bring some of that red and other colours. Saw somewhere on some random bit of social media, the only paint that you waste is the paint that you leave in the tube. So, I mean, I'm a true example of that today, aren't I? Just throwing paint down. Got a dirty hand. And I think that's it for today. Let's clean up a bit down here just so that the camera above can get a bit of a better look at what's going off. Okay, so the themes seem to be up and down verticals, individual sort of like fingers and bodies coming down, walking up, almost a bit like little sea anemones as well, something corally, you know, under the water, that kind of vibe. There's some melancholy in there, I think, some anxiety, and there's a bit of prettiness as well. So we'll leave it there for now. We'll probably do a bit more in the week, probably totally change and mess it up, and we'll be doing something else with it next week, or another painting, who knows. Anyway, this is Dead Art Studios, Paint and Chat. See you next time.